5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Sing.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 247 of the TTV Podcast. I'm Meso.
Yeah.
To make a naked joke or not? I'm
Fans
bothered.
will understand.
His name is
That's
Meso.
why we have to do it now.
I'm Eljay.
I'm Jonathan.
I'm getting naked.
Please don't.
The naked smoothie drink. Yeah.
On Thursdays.
Yeah.
Oh
Hi,
gosh.
I'm Phweffie.
Oh no.
I'm 10 Naked Invictus.
Hi, everyone. Sit down. Have a chit chat. It's nice. My name is the XX
Have a
Trooper.
chit-chat.
I'll be joining you all today. And have a nice time.
Well, who are you? Like,
For getting naked. Yeah.
And this is TTV 247, not 47.
Oh yeah, Marty.
We're
we're
almost to 50,
Hey,
guys.
we're coming on.
Mr. Rogers.
We're getting that 250 on pretty soon. here.
Almost there.
To where?
Can you believe we're almost at 250? I remember when
EXXMR?
we had episode
No.
50.
I
We would have
remember
been there a
when
lot
we were
longer
at
if we
like
hadn't taken our break.
149 and we were like,
No,
hey
no,
guys,
no.
can you believe we're almost at 150? It's been a long time since we were just at 50. Now we're almost at 150.
joined
Now
at, like,
we're here
80.
saying,
It has
wow,
been
Everyone's
more-
been
we're
here
almost
for
at
5 minutes.
250.
podcasts. Actually, I've been here for...
Well,
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Please talk over me.
When
yes,
I
I
left it,
shall.
when I left, it was at like 1:15, and we were super inconsistent with when we recorded. So coming back, and you guys are like 200 something. Like, what the heck has happened since I've been gone?
We got a WoW expansion.
We got naked.
You know?
Yes, I'm aware of
And
that.
it was good.
Did
No,
actually?
we did not.
Yes.
It's a joke.
we did.
WoW sucks, dude.
No, since he was gone,
Yeah, WoW's awful.
we did get
What are
a.
you
I was
talking about
like,
WoW?
eh.
Wow, dude.
We need that picture.
Wow.
We need that picture of VAR from the
Wow,
TTV
dude.
message boards whenever someone makes a naked joke.
Oh yeah.
What picture are you
It's
talking
like that
which
drawing
VAR?
someone did.
Am I naked
no,
in
it's
it?
like this really like meh face, like a meh face.
Oh, you mean
I
Shrugvar?
don't know. I'll
What?
have to find it. Oh, I found
Or
it.
are you talking about something else?
Oh no, that's the wrong one.
What?
Oh, there it
What,
is.
is it the
there it
wrong
is. I
one?
found it.
That is Shrugby.
No.
That is Shrug.
No
So
one's gonna
that's
get it.
Shrugvar. Yeah.
You know,
It's okay.
No, I don't.
trying to think about the conversation from like a third-party perspective, I can imagine this would be very confusing. Like, what are these terms?
Oh, boy.
Shrugvar?
If you want to get it, if you want
Meh
to get in on
face.
all the inside TTV jokes, become a Patreon.
No, dude, you
subscriber.
gotta
Patreon,
not do that.
You call it, and join our sponsor chat, so you can listen live to the podcast and be privy to all our.
And you
inside
can tell
jokes.
people that you're really cool and different. You know, it's great.
Someone just posted another picture of my face in the chat. I feel like that is the most accurate face ever to when we were in New York and Connie started eating that pineapple pizza after it had been left out all night.
Oh, the last part
That's
got to me
great.
there.
Okay.
Lies and slander, man. Fake news.
Lies and
They're
slander.
sharing
Baby.
alternative
Claiming
facts. Okay.
They're sharing alternative.
Thanks,
I
Phweffie.
feel like at
That's
what,
all this channel is, alternative
at
facts.
what point does it become reality when 5 of the people who have met you say the same thing?
I mean, that's the point where you have to question life. At what point does virtual life become reality? Like,
Well, I mean, like,
is life.
5 people have not claimed the same thing, though.
Dude, 5 people have claimed that you're disgusting, each one in a different sort of way.
Well, I mean, 5 people have said some things about you, Ben, but we don't go repeating them on the
And I'm
podcast.
sure they're probably
Yeah,
true.
he's a
Like
great
Ben.
guy.
Ben's a nice guy. I would like.
I can accept
Have you-
personal criticism.
Have you
5 people
actually
agree.
grown?
Ben is a nice guy.
5 out of 6 doctors agree that Ben is good for you.
Ven is good
Yes.
for you.
5 out of 6
Everyone
doctors agree
agrees that
getting
Ben
naked is good for the soul.
Okay, and we've
The naked fruit smoothie drink.
Yeah, boy.
Ben, how much are you getting
Apparently,
paid for the product placement?
Smoothie's really good, dude.
Oh, dude, I wish.
Could you
I
just
wish I was gonna pay for it.
happen to promote one of our products? Maybe could you just use
What product?
your advertising?
Our Patreon.
Yeah, I would
You can
if
make
we
jokes
had
this
like.
on the
a
TTV
product?
message boards.
I would if we were good at
Nice,
naming
man.
things. But apparently we're not.
Yeah, I remember there was like
Okay, then I see how
I mean,
it
think
is.
about it. Do we have a name for our shirt store?
The shirt
I mean-
store.
It was called the
We-
TTV store.
It doesn't exist anymore.
right now it's called closed.
Oh,
Yeah.
And for any wondering where it went,
Oh,
it's been
hey!
locked into the
Hey,
vault,
need
never to
clothes?
return
Come
unless we
down
meet
to
our.
closed. We'll get you clothes.
For those wondering
Actually,
where
we're gonna
the
bring the
shirts
shirts back and
are,
we get
they've
400
been, I was just about to say.
I know you were, and I wanted to stop.
Get us stopped, mate.
$400 on Patreon, stretch goal. Shirts are back because they're expensive and they've been locked in the vault until we can make enough money to
They've
make
been locked in the vault.
and
The
you
vault
know what?
haven't been locked anywhere. They haven't been made.
If you missed out on those TTV shirts and you want to get your hands on one, well, we'll bring them back if we hit $400 in Patreon. So head on over to patreon.com/TTV channel and then donate to our Patreon. You only need to donate $1 to become a patron.
$1.
$1.
Literally, like $1. Honestly, like $1 is like all we ever ask for, because like I feel like it's easy to get burned out when you like donate like exorbitant amounts of money on Patreon. You know, because like you could donate to like even your favorite channel ever, like Rooster Teeth or something, and you put in $60, and then like cool, you paid $60 for that month, but then like the next month it's like, oh, do I really want to pay another $60?
Set it from word go. If everybody in our audience donated $1 or 50 cents, we would be set for life, and we could turn this into a full-time job.
The difference is, I think, is the consistency.
Yep.
It's really nice to have a consistent amount every month, more so than just, oh, this month we have a really large amount, and this month we have a really small amount. You know, it's the consistency. You're able to plan around that, actually use that towards your budget, towards making video content the way you want to make it.
We should actually make a stretch goal that's called a full-time job. It's like at this rate, we can start making this a full-time job. Just help us make this much money.
Honestly, I need to get a stretch goal in there. Because a lot of people want me to do combination reviews.
Start stretching more.
I will. I'm not very flexible. Yeah, here it comes. No,
what?
None of you guys are gonna take that.
No.
Really?
I don't want to talk about you.
Ew.
I don't even want to talk
I don't
about
want
it.
to
Good.
talk.
Nice.
Yeah,
I don't
the
want to talk about
three
your,
LJs was a long time ago.
I don't want to talk about like your brittle
Yep.
body. Ew.
Gross.
You know what you could do about that
Durable.
brittle body?
Get
Get
naked.
naked. The naked fruit
Okay.
smoothie
At
drink.
this-
It's packed with vitamins.
That's
good for your soul.
Strengthen your bones and your soul.
I immediately
Paper skin and your
regret
little
bringing this topic up.
You should. For any
Skinned
parents out there,
bones.
trust me, we're talking about the drink. Like, there's probably a picture of it on the
I've
screen.
never had that drink.
It's
You
a
know
drink.
what I
You should
don't
try it
regret?
sometime.
Is
Is it a
drink
good
that is
drink? That's
considered
what I wanna
good?
know.
I mean,
It is, actually.
okay.
It is pretty
It's
good.
getting naked good for you.
It is like it's not bad, but it's
Getting
overpriced.
naked is
It
the
is
like
overpriced.
one of the
yeah,
most-
for what
It
it
is
is.
very
You
overpriced.
would just grab like a bunch of
I
fruit.
imagine
Tastes
getting
just like
naked is
experience.
Yeah, you could.
a little
could
fruit
ever
smoothie.
You
get.
could grab like a
There's
bunch
so
of
many
fruit,
of us
throw it in a
talking about it,
blender,
man.
and you'd get the same thing, but a little bit like thicker.
It's okay. We'll start talking about G3 and they'll stop.
Oh, trust me, they will.
Straight savage.
Oh no, I won't. I definitely won't.
Yeah, you
No.
will. Let's be real here. You totally
Nah.
Get.
Go ahead.
Everybody
Start talking
stops
about
them.
G3 right now. Do it. I freaking dare you.
Oh. Frickin'.
Well, in that case, bye, X.
Yeah, bye
Phweffie.
guys.
It's been nice
I'm
knowing
ahead
you.
of the game, and I already stopped talking.
Oh, yeah. I forgot you were here.
Nice,
Who are you?
man.
Whose kid is this?
How did you get here in this recording session?
Very carefully.
So anyway, about that Bionicle G3, am I right?
What do we want to do this week? We've got
Well,
plans.
first, we should introduce our G3 project and explain to the audience what it is we're doing
It's
here.
fan-made, not official.
Oh,
Reimagine.
is it?
You're
Discussion
so
on the
disappointing.
podcast.
It's all
It's
for
not
podcast
confirmed.
discussion. Lego isn't actually doing it. They probably will never do it. They probably shouldn't
Whoa.
do it. For fear of
Dude.
messing it up.
I mean,
don't
they
know.
might do a movie. I'm
No.
kidding.
No. No.
That'd
No.
be cool, but
Bionicle is a
They would
dead
never do a
IP.
movie unless toys were coming out. Let's be real here.
I would not mind Lego taking a crack at System Bionicle. I'm just, if they ever reboot it, I just can't imagine them like actually committing to that.
Well, I mean, that's the reason I'm saying movie is that that's where I have the most hope for Bionicle, like because
because it's going forward with their cinematic.
it's a cinematic. If they do want a cinematic universe, they get screenwriters
It
on
makes
board
sense.
that are, and everything. Like you see how Ninjago is being treated in a different continuity.
Heck yeah, I'd love
I
that.
wouldn't.
Absolutely
Now,
fantastic.
would Bionicle work as a comedy like all the other Lego movies? Probably not. So.
No.
No.
Nah.
The world is ending.
Bionicle
It
comedy
sure
is
as heck
great.
would.
It never doesn't work because that's what friends do.
What?
Okay, hey, real quick. So
And
I
friends
want to
are
address this because a
family.
lot of people thought I was going to be. Because I listened. Well, I didn't listen to the entirety of the last podcast. podcast. I did skim over some stuff, and I asked the cast question beforehand, and so this is my entire essay.
We made a lot of changes last week.
This is my entire essay on everything that's wrong with what you guys said.
And I'm done.
Okay.
It's
Bye,
nothing.
Eljay.
It's all solid. We're moving forward with it. I don't care. Listen, I don't. The only thing that I actually really argue about on this show has been when we do something just because like G1 did it. So like,
Whether to skip
Matona
leg
shorter
day or
because of
not.
G1, and we're not doing romance because of G1. Those are my two big arguments here. Everything else, I'm okay with.
Do you know what G1 didn't do? They didn't do G3. You know.
I did ask you guys some questions about like how stuff made sense, and we made some kind of not corrections, but like we clarified on how everything was going to make sense along the way. But other than that, yeah, there we go.
I'm not sure if we should do that in this recording or not. I did read some comments where people were obviously a little confused on certain things, and I'm not sure if it's because of the separation between when we discuss certain things. You know, it's
do you want to go
spread apart across different episodes.
Kind of address several of them at least.
I don't have any prepared, but I can find some.
Go for it.
Because
Do it. Let's
Okay.
answer some
Go for-
questions
okay.
right now.
you guys should probably talk about something while I'm finding comments to talk about.
Okay,
then.
we'll talk about
We
whatever.
can figure something out. Hey, so guess what my day was like today?
I don't want to talk about this.
What happened to your,
Dang it.
what happened to your
you
essay?
got dibs first. What happened?
Yeah. Well,
Nailed it.
Prepared.
Brick Fair's coming up, and I got comics for everybody.
What, really?
Alright,
Great.
Who
cool.
cares?
What do you mean?
Everybody come to the Brick Fair. Anybody
What
listening?
kind
Go
of
to
comics?
Brick
I got a lot of comics. I bought a bunch. I completed my comics collection, actually, which
But
is
which,
nice.
which
Yeah,
kind
no,
of
it is.
comics?
That's pretty cool.
Bionicle comics.
Oh.
He completed his DC comic collection.
Every single
DC
comic
fan.
that ever existed.
Wow. But yeah, no, that's done. But I also bought, because last year I bought 6 comics, and they came with a bunch of extras that I didn't have, so I added those. And I'm doing the same this year, but instead of 6 last year, I got 23 this year for everybody.
Just to give it.
That's great.
You got 23
So
for
if
everybody?
you come to Brick Fair and you meet us, you can get a Bionicle comic among other fulfilling things. So long as you're. It's like
Then you can probably join us in getting naked.
No, you
The
cannot.
naked
For legal
fruit
reasons.
smoothie
Actually,
drink.
legitimately, you can't because we will be going by ourselves in our car, and you guys can't follow us. Please do not follow us to Walmart. We go to get naked juice.
Yes. Did we ever tell a story on the podcast about like seeing fans?
Oh,
of
yeah.
all-
Yeah,
That
we
was
said like we had to just
hilarious.
duck away.
Gosh.
And then,
Oh, yeah.
and then
You
while we were
guys.
trying to hide
Hide
LJ's
LJ,
face,
hide
while we were trying to hide LJ's face and get out of the store quickly, we then stopped to get Dippin' Dots and like
That was the most
front entrance.
frustrating thing, because we all looked around, and this was before we went through checkout. And so we spot someone and we're like, hey, we know who that is. Look, quick, come on, guys, grab our stuff. Let's go. Let's go.
No, wait, man,
right
we
through
gotta
checkout.
get that Dippin' Dots, though.
Here's what I'll say
You
going
guys
forward.
stopped for
It
15
was
minutes.
Here's what I'll say going
so
forward.
Google a
Dippin'
Dippin'
It
Dots.
was so good
Brick
because
Fair.
I walked around the court, like
If
I
you
walked
guys-
there, and like all of a sudden I see a fan's head like pop up, but they saw me and were like, "Oh!" and went back. I was like, "Oh, guys."
How do you think I
What's
felt?
up, John?
If you guys see us at Brick Fair, right, feel free to come up and say hi. take
Batista
pictures,
bomb
you
me.
know. Right, but there is and this is not to be stingy or anything.
Stop me,
There is
bro.
a limit to where like some people, if they follow us too much, then they're like, oh,
Flex.
guys,
They
this
weren't
is pretty
following us. They just bumped
This is
into
a
us.
little too
There are-
much.
Like,
We are like-
if we go down a dark
right
alleyway.
next to Brick
Right.
Fair.
Yeah,
Exactly.
no one followed us.
Yeah, no, I mean, totally. If you see us at Walmart, sure, just say,
also at
come,
Chick-fil-A,
come,
too.
and we're inviting you, come say hi, everything.
Yeah,
that's,
if anything,
that's great.
we like
We
told
want
people
to
to follow
interact
us.
with people. The only thing I'm like, don't like, if you see us drive away in our cars, don't follow us.
Yeah, because
I'm afraid of that happening.
Okay,
I'm afraid that
yeah.
people will like trace us
There,
back.
there was one guy that did follow us. No, there.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
Just so like, and it's just,
Actually, there were a couple
there,
guys.
there are a couple
Yes,
people.
there were.
Actually, I'm
They're
remembering
no
several
good.
instances
Trying
of
to
people
make
following
That's what I'm
us.
getting. That's what I'm getting at. So
I'm starting to remember it now. It's all coming back to me. I had blocked
yeah,
out of my
I'll
head.
tell you,
like,
I,
pushed away.
I remember that because we said that we were going somewhere, and one of them asked, "Oh, can I come with?" If you ever ask us that question, it will 100% of the time be no.
Yeah, just because like a lot of times we're going somewhere where like we've invited people to go because it'll be like kind of a business thing, or we're gonna film content and we're gonna like
Exactly.
we have this thing blocked out. So that's we don't
We're gonna have
want to be
another dinner with
mean.
Lego.
or anything. If you're by there, definitely come by and say hi.
Some of us here do.
Just don't go kind of know your
respect
their
boundaries.
boundaries. I mean, and it's totally fine to ask, like, hey, do you want to, is it okay if I come along? And we say no.
You can
Have
ask,
we
be
announced
prepared
cool.
that the answer will be no.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Have we announced who's going to Brick Fair, like live on podcast
I've
yet?
updated the topic with a list of cast members and crew.
Yeah,
All right,
I wanna do a whole marketing
everybody
push.
who's going to Brick
But-
Fair right now, I want you guys right now to raise your hand.
Oh yeah, I'm
Everybody
raising my
say,
hand.
Me.
But yeah,
Yeah, so like for the YouTube audience who doesn't check the boards, which is quite a significant amount of people, I think majority of TTV is going.
Majority of
is.
TTV is going.
everyone.
I do want to make an official announcement video, like, coming soon.
we will.
So we're gonna
Coming
do that.
soon.
But
Everybody,
there's going to be a lot of people there.
is it? Do we want to say who's going?
The topic is there.
Yeah, if you
not
really
a-
want
let's
to
just go-
know, go see the topic. If not, wait for the official announcement.
What,
and
really?
then we'll
Oh,
figure it
okay.
out.
I mean,
Okay.
I don't see why we got to keep a secret.
we do.
I don't either.
Everyone,
I wanna
right now, at this point, at the time of this recording, everyone but Phweffie's going.
Yep.
Wah, wah,
Yeah.
wah.
Literally everybody. Purple's going. X is going. Mange, you're going.
Who's main?
I
gonna
can't
be
believe
weird.
X
First
that you are
time,
going.
man.
That
Yeah.
is what surprises me.
I would not have guessed that you'd be able to go, because I just thought it would be like a pipe
100%.
dream or something. Like, it'd be cool to see you out there. It's just kind of like, it'd also be cool.
It's never actually
Yeah, it's
gonna
like, it'd be
happen.
cool for all of us to go to the Lego headquarters in Denmark, but is that really going to happen anytime soon? But like, here you are, so maybe, who knows?
Also, money at Walt.
Yeah, Woke, why isn't Phweffie going? Well, you know the saying, more money, more problems, and she doesn't want any problems. I'm sorry.
Why don't you take international flights all the time? I almost said cross country. Cross
Like, cross
country.
ocean.
Yeah, it's an expensive
I'm
thing.
planning on it.
It's
I'm planning.
very expensive.
I'm planning on going to the UK next year. So
Really?
But why?
I will.
Why? What's there for you?
Well, I want to
Besides meeting
tour
Phweffie.
Britain, and I have family in Ireland, so I'm going to go both places.
Huh.
That sounds dumb.
Have fun with that.
You sound dumb. Oh, I'm also gonna try and work Denmark in there.
Have
Nice.
Hail
Fun.
Denmark.
Hail Denmark.
I
Hey,
Hail Denmark.
hail Denmark.
why though?
So
Now
you-
let us
like,
eat.
John, what happened to you today?
Oh, I woke up like super early at 6 to go to my graduation.
How'd that go?
It was really packed, and there were Secret Service agents everywhere. Because if you guys
Shield
didn't know,
agents.
the president spoke at my commencement today. So
What?
we went there. Yeah, President
Which one?
Donald
Obama?
J. Yes, President Donald J. Obama was there today.
Joe
Joe
Obama.
Obama. They actually no joke. There were Secret Service agents on the buildings with snipers. I sent you a Snapchat.
So
actually.
wait.
Oh.
You should-
Oh,
They
wow.
did bring the
I
sniper.
don't know. I don't know if the,
Was
I don't know if
this-
the secret agent I zoomed up on had like the
No.
sniper or not, but like there's definitely
Oh, I
the,
saw that.
the agents with
The
snipers.
police like
They were
played
like
in
all
my
of it.
head.
We had to
Every
be like
step
scanned down.
you take, I'll
It was funny, like
You
the
take
cops were
Kevin's
there, the
watching
on-campus
you.
police, and then the Secret Service were there. And there was at one point where like the Secret Service agents started. Like I sat up at the front, the very as close as I could get. The Secret Service
Yeah.
agents walked past, and they're all like whispering to each other, and they're all like looking up, and we're like, "What?" And, like, we
That's
also
so
So wait,
Scary.
this was actually the president, not like the president of your college?
no, this is the president of the United States of America. Yes.
Oh,
The
okay.
orangutan
He is,
himself.
he is very close with the president of my college, Jerry Falwell.
Makes
Yeah.
sense.
But so essentially, like the president usually goes to Notre Dame whenever he makes like the first commencement speech he does as president. He does it at Notre Dame. But this time, President Trump sent his vice president down there, and he went to Liberty. So they're getting slighted in exchange for us. So
Rip.
they suck. We win.
Rip
Well,
Notre
that's
Dame.
awesome for you, John.
That is.
Yeah, no, it was real interesting seeing
But-
the president. You
but
know,
did
I've
you
never seen
talk
a president
to him?
live. No.
Wasted.
Well, actually, no. They totally let every single person that was there just walk
Yeah.
up to the president.
Meet
And be
and
like,
greet.
hey, man. So I asked him if he could bring Bionicle back, and he
Plug
said
your YouTube
no.
channel.
You are notorious for being places you aren't supposed to be, so I figured you
true.
That
could
is
have
true.
pulled this off.
That
could've
is
pulled
true.
it off.
I actually
Little boy, I'll
had it
bring back
been
the bad robot for you.
had it been like someone else, I actually probably would have done it. With the president, I'm like, there are people who are extra alert, making sure no one's doing anything a little sketchy.
You'd probably have
Now
guns
I
all
really
pointed
wanted
on
to
you.
go up there.
Exactly. It's like I didn't want to do something like I've snuck behind in concert halls before and like met like people that are performing and people I've done that before. But I was like, I'm not gonna mess at all with the Secret Service. Not doing that.
It's not worth
the risk.
Just tell him it's a prank.
Heavy risk, but the prize.
Well,
There we go.
I do have some comments ready to talk about if we want to go ahead and move on to that.
All right.
All right, let's go.
I enjoyed that.
Let's
Mass
open up
Effect 2
strong
reference,
with
but-
whatever the heck this guy is complaining about.
Okay. Oh, this question's great.
All right, so from Adventurer Akoki, he says, I have only one question. Why system? These are freaking biomechanical beings. I can't tell about a simple minifigure that this is a robot thingy or something, and if you guys would go with the construction sets, there wouldn't be the leg problem. And how do you make that environment with
Okay,
bricks?
we're
The
gonna-
story is not Bionicle-ish.
we're gonna-
You guys making something else, not Bionicle.
Yeah, it's
We are
called
going to
G3.
answer this question one part at a time because there are obviously more than one question here.
A lot of moving parts.
So why system? Because with these, and then let's.
System works.
Because we want Bionicle to be a success, and if it's not system, it's not going to be a success.
Yeah.
Because no one buys
yeah,
construction.
system works. Construction
Apparently
didn't,
sold
that's
well,
why we're not
but
doing
not
construction
enough.
sets. Boom, baby.
Sold well.
I can't tell about
Yeah,
a simple figure that this is a robot thing here. That sounds like a personal problem.
Well, hold on. The system thing. To clarify, our original plan was to always add ultra build sets along with our sets as well.
But they're not important to the
But
story,
they're
so we're not
yeah.
pitching.
Yeah, they're not important to the story. So there is going to be construction sets. It's not entirely a system, but the system is the main part of the line.
Yep.
Anyway. Can't tell about the simple figure that this robot thingy or
That
something.
sounds like a personal problem. If you guys
Yeah.
would go with the construction sets, there wouldn't be the leg problem. Well, true, I guess.
Always debated that.
That is true.
I mean, yeah,
That is true. But the thing with system is that like what we get with system later on, he says, "How do you make that environment with bricks?" Well, you do it like any other Lego set, and not like construction, because construction has no environments.
Yeah, that really confused me. It's like, wait, what environment did we get before?
It's not like we were getting like plants or something.
Big, massive play
like,
sets.
Huts. System allows us to build an environment. That's why we wanted to go with it. We felt.
I
that
think
it
he's talking
gives some
about
more
the
world
concept art that we've put up, which isn't necessarily supposed to be representative of any set designs. The
No,
concept
just
art
concept.
that we put up is just to get an idea of what the story would look like if it was represented visually, really.
Or concept is the
Yep.
feel.
This is
of
all
Bionicle.
for discussion's sake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and once again, it's not like we ever got any of the environments from the concept art of G2.
If
Yeah,
anything,
exactly.
System is a much better platform to do this kind of environment.
100%.
In fact, yeah, exactly. We would want to base the system sets on some of the concept art as much as we could, but we're not, there's no plan to recreate absolutely every single part of my art or Umatu's art or anything.
They're
all
just
just for
concepts that we're gonna
inspiration.
use. Right.
It's
And
a
we don't even
concept.
know if we're going to design any set or anything.
Yeah.
Bionicle, by and large, has
n-
existed in concept art in terms of the environment.
The last part of his comment was that the story is not Bionicle-ish.
Well, tell me,
which, I
sir,
mean,
what is Bionicle-ish? You suggest something that's Bionicle-ish, then,
I just
and
don't
I'm gonna
understand
tell
how
you
it's not
straight up,
Bionicle-ish.
it's not gonna be Bionicle-ish. You know why? Because you don't know what you're talking about.
I actually, honestly, I feel like this, just the pure story concept is more Bionicle than G2 was. If you're counting, I'm assuming what he means is that it's not true to the original Bionicle G1 generation story.
I guess.
So I would say, as of right now, the concept we're talking about, it's currently more true to the G1 concept than G2 was. G2 only
Brothers
had
who are
the,
asleep, mystical heroes.
well, I mean, G2
How
has
does
the
this guy
like- I
have
feel like
2
that's-
likes on his comment?
I mean,
I feel like it has all the elements that
yeah, we're
Bionicle
as
had.
Bionicle as G2 was, if not more. So
The reason why this comment confused me, it's not the opinions, because, like, I know tons of people don't like the system element. Some people would prefer pure construction. Tons of people think the story isn't great. I know we've had a bunch of various negative opinions over the years, but this doesn't make any sense. I'm trying to visualize this, and, like, it's not Bionicle. How do you do locations? I can't tell that they're robots. And, like, none of those reasons actually makes any kind of logical sense. So it's difficult for me to connect this comment.
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
I think there are
They're really subjective opinions that he has that he's trying to like state as though they're factual opinions or logical ones, and I just don't really understand how.
Yeah, but apparently two people did.
Apparently,
two people did, and it really bothers me.
Well, you see what it is that there's another guy that also posted some stupid critique in the comments. I bet he liked that comment, and I bet the guy that posted that comment liked his comment.
He just liked his own comment.
Yeah. Did. As long as you clarify what you're talking about, I feel like there are legitimate criticisms to have against this project.
Oh, of course.
There are absolutely legitimate critiques and criticisms, but here's a piece of advice.
Yeah.
100%, if you want us to hear you out and really get into a dialogue, offer a solution. If you have a problem, offer your own solution.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why we're confused with the comment, because I don't know what he would consider to be a Bionicle story.
It's not Bionicle.
Yeah, like,
I don't know what's not working for our story that
exactly
that doesn't work for the other
ones. It's not Bionicle-ish. Well, what is that? What does
that mean, and how can we solve
Seems
that?
pretty Bionicle-ish to me.
Yeah, because obviously to everybody else it's Bionicle-ish, whatever the heck. Whatever. Is there another comment?
So a solution is important. Yeah. There was another stupid comment, but I think it was just a troll, so I'm not even going to bother talking about it.
Nice. Yeah.
This is a comment from.
I know.
That guy's awesome.
The Mockingbird.
Wow.
It is,
okay.
Love that name.
He says that actually. Oh, wow, I didn't even realize that's a really cool name. Anyway,
it's really clever.
It seems like the Toa keep on accidentally waking up evil spirits in G3. First Makuta with the Rahkshi plan, then Karzani when they restore the city. They really need to stop it.
Karzani,
okay, yeah.
Did we really establish that here?
Yeah, we did establish that, and honestly, the statement's really true. That's kind of what we were worried about in the last episode. How we're gonna have to change Karzani up a bit because the whole thing before was that they would accidentally unlock them, but now we're doing that with Makuta. So it's
right.
That's a mistake we made.
Story.
That's something you can criticize us for. You guys introduced Karzani too early.
Yeah.
Totally true. We just confused stuff. That's a legitimate flaw.
I totally agree with that. I mean, when we were discussing it, obviously we talked about Karzani early. I didn't feel that introducing the character we're going to do in the future would open up this avenue to all this stuff.
Also, I don't remember giving Makuta a rakish plan. I don't know where this guy is getting that. What is even a rakish?
I think it's spelled wrong.
Makuta's gonna till the garden.
Thank you for killing.
That is a pretty grievous misspelling.
Well, you just misplaced one letter. The I is supposed to go to you. So,
isn't it H?
Yes.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. It's totally irrelevant.
It's funny.
Interesting comment, I guess. From Zachary Farrell. The Mask of Time could revert back to random locations after every use when it breaks apart into several fragments. Then, over long stretches of time, it could put effects on the land around it, relating back to the specific fragment power, such as speeding up the growth of plant life and time around it. This would eventually reveal its general location, and give our heroes and villains a jumpstart on where to look, which would be small enough in size to initiate conflict whenever they cross paths, and because it would take so long after the effects of the fragment to kick in, the mask would not be available for a while after every use. This would also take away the many shrines covering the island. You could keep that for the Nuva symbols. Well, we're already cutting out the Nuva symbols.
I'm 100% on board for that, except for one flaw, because I wanted them to be random from where to go, but it doesn't make sense in that aspect, because it works great for the speeding up the growth of plant life, or for slowing down, but what about the other 4 fragments? How do you translate those into visual form?
Well, I mean, I think part of his suggestion is that it could give them a jump start into where to look. Maybe not necessarily for all 6 pieces they know exactly where to look, but for some of them it would be easier than others.
Mm-hmm.
True.
My thing with this suggestion is I think it's cool, however, it does put us at too much of a time difference between each use of the mask, to the point where if the Rahkshi use it, then we have to wait a significant amount of time before the Toa can use it, and that's going to affect the way the plot runs. Because right now we need the Toa to be able to find them pretty much immediately after the Rahkshi use it.
True.
It depends on how long this takes.
Also,
it's true.
How long?
But we also don't want our Toa to just sit around waiting for them to show themselves.
Very true.
So, I don't know. It's a tough one.
Neat.
But it's a good suggestion. It's just hard to figure out how it would fit in.
Yeah.
One thing I had a question about when it came to the Nuva
Yes.
symbols. Now we're getting rid of them. Are we going to change the symbols on the Toa? Because those were supposed to be the Nuva symbols, and it meant something.
No, we're getting rid of the physical Nuva symbols.
So is it just
But-
like
The
the
Nuva
flag
cubes.
or something like that? Long story short, because
Yeah,
it
it's
doesn't
just an
connect,
insignia.
can we redesign one of
Nope.
the Nuva symbols? Because it looks like garbage.
No.
No.
Kopaka's
First of all, the
redesigning them.
Nuva symbols themselves are still part of the elements. It's still part of the lore of the island. They still use those symbols for everything. We're just not having these physical runes that are locked up in these
Basically, we're
shrines.
keeping the symbols, not the cubes. Basically.
Yeah,
That's
no,
how
I'm
it
saying that like the
goes.
reason we kept the symbols we were talking about is because they all line up, they all connect when you put them in a cube, right? Some of them like
That
I don't think
No.
that was the reason. I think it
That's
was 'cause
not-
it's
that's not-
iconic.
no, I know. I meant like there's certain.
that's not the reason, and also that's not how they work. They don't connect through those symbols.
He's
No, I'm talking about the
visual.
design, the visual design of the Nuva cube. All the little lines on it, they all connect in that way. That's why
Oh.
we were talking about that, and we were talking about like just rearranging one of the lines because it's off. Like it's not symmetrical on one of them, and it should be, but it's not because it's supposed to connect when you put all the cube together. The line's supposed to like line up. Now so we would just be tweaking some of them essentially to be symmetrical. Let me get you the example of what I'm talking about here.
It's a dangerous territory. They are iconic symbols.
They are iconic symbols, just not in the here. Let me see if I can find it.
Not in the what? Finish your sentence.
Not in the not in the way you're thinking of. They are iconic symbols, but like people remember them being symmetrical when they're not.
Did you take
I don't think that's a
on this one?
metric that can be measured.
Okay.
I feel like if we change even one of the Nuva symbols, we should change all of them.
No, I'm
And
not
we
saying
should be
change. All right,
changing.
look at Kopaka's symbol.
Which I'm not opposed to. It's just
All right, if
easy
you
to
actually
commit
look
to
at Kopaka's symbol, it's not symmetrical, even though it should be. You see that one of the dots is down, like at the lining up with the bottom line, but on the other one, the other dot on the right, that is like halfway.
Yeah.
Right.
So what I'm saying is that we would move that dot to make it symmetrical, because when everyone thinks of Kopaka's symbol, they think in their head symmetrical when it's actually not. In our designs, we've kind of lifted from that, but
I suppose, but
so.
I mean, that's
why does this matter again?
No,
That's
does.
fairly minor.
Yeah, it's
in
a
the
minor
grand
thing.
scheme.
I was just like talking about like if we're gonna like change, because it looked odd on the Kopaka figure, just because it was asymmetrical and you didn't see the cube. But when I brought this up beforehand,
Did it?
yeah. Well, I brought it up beforehand, and Eljay
mean-
pointed out that it's because the cube's supposed to connect, and that's why all the symbols make sense. I'm like, okay, fair enough.
When moving a pixel like 2 pixels up, that I'm not gonna argue against that per se. If we wanted to do that, I thought you were talking about more like radical reinventions of some of the symbols.
No, I mean like
oh, I see what you mean by it's supposed
Yeah.
to connect. So like that dot at the top of Kopaka's is meant to like move into either a Nua's or
Kohatus,
Kohatus.
yeah, exactly.
Or Liwa's.
And if you look at
Okay.
Kopaka's too, it's like the symbol is like a third of the way up. There's much more empty space below it. So
A real
Just as a
quick
design,
and
it
easy
doesn't look that
example. Let me go ahead and post this. This is just
Close to
an
the
easy
toast.
and quick visual. Because there is an image of them connecting, but Varp, like that.
Yeah. Okay. I see. Yeah. Gotcha.
right, so they're supposed to connect like that on the cube.
All
but-
6 of them do that.
Yeah, let me.
Yeah.
I think
Gotcha.
someone drew this.
There's a lot of work
makes
they put
sense.
into these cubes that never actually made it into set form.
Correct.
It really
because-
annoys
yeah.
me.
There we go. Wait, is that?
I don't know.
Well, that's cool looking. I don't know if that's canon though.
It
That
is
top
not.
one.
Because if
Yeah.
you look at the Nuva cube, that's
There's
those are
a
the
hold up. There's a
designs.
Nuva
Those are the
cube that you can like
patterns.
rotate somewhere.
There are a lot of Nuva cubes.
People made them on Shapeways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Maybe I
snazzy.
should get myself a
case-
Nuva cube from Shapeways.
Anyway, I do understand what you mean though, Kai. Like now that we're not actually going to have them form a cube, it doesn't really need to have those designs. I think we should keep the designs just because that's what the designs
well,
were.
yeah. I think we should
I
keep the
agree.
design. I just
If
need
we're
to,
gonna
like,
have Nuva
make it
symbols, it's just-
center. So like Kopaka's would be the one that would be changed the most. It's the one that's always bugged me.
Well, then you
because it's-
decenter it from Kohatus.
Yeah, but we're not making
a
them
cube, though,
cubes.
so that's why it doesn't matter.
There's no physical runes anymore.
I don't know. I'm not interested in it. 'Cause it just seems like a change to change.
Well, it's not a change to change. It's a change because
there are many things I will argue about. Moving a square 2 pixels up is not one of them.
I do kind of agree that I feel like it's a change for change's sake.
I can't be bothered one way or the other.
I don't think, and if Meso, the symmetry guy, can't be bothered by the fact that this isn't symmetrical, then I don't think it really matters that much.
Though? Don't you like asymmetry?
No, he hates asymmetricality.
I am asymmetrical.
You are asymmetrical.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody is. Oh. I'm joking. No.
Well, I mean,
yes, I hate asymmetry with a burning passion. So I should hate this on principle alone. But it's one of those things like maybe I'm just losing my touch with that kind of stuff because it's been so long since I've had to argue with people. But I don't really care.
Yeah, I don't care enough to change it.
I don't really care about it either. I just thought I'd bring it up because it's one of those things that just
I don't care if it gets changed. I don't really care.
I was just thinking about like when we were changing the thing. The one thing I like about the Neva cubes is the added design that no one really saw in the original generation. That was that was really cool that all the lines could connect to each other.
I find it really annoying that they never put them in the Neva sets.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, little cubes.
They should have.
Like, to hold.
They should have. It should have been like a.
Totally should have.
Or the Borok Call would have made them.
Now that I think about it, yeah, it's like the Nuva symbols really had nothing to do with 2003's set.
Were they even on the sets in the first place?
The first.
They weren't on the sets at all. They were on the box art.
The only place they've ever shown up in a physical set is in 2016.
That's what I thought. So they were like they're huge, iconic symbols, but they never actually show up anywhere.
In the story, yeah, but never in set form.
Prentice and our live studio audience. If you're gonna to say that Gala Uniter looks fine, choose a better picture than that.
Gala Uniter is not a bad.
I would change your color scheme, but
this color, the color is all over. It looks bad because of.
I actually like Gala Uniter, but there are certain angles that really suit her better.
I did not mind when I tore apart my Gala Uniter.
I'm just messing with you. I get your point. I get what you're saying.
My thing with Gala Uniter is she's a great set, but not a good upgrade from Gala Master.
Gala Master is a fantastic set.
That's the problem.
Might be the best.
Gala Master was amazing, and then Gala Uniter was just disappointing in comparison.
I would consistently rate Gala Uniter higher if Gala Uniter were better than Gala Master, because Gala Master
at least she's not worse than Lewa Uniter.
Say what?
At least she's not worse than Lewa Uniter.
Dude, if they just gave Lewa normal arms, he would be fine. Anyway, all right, let's go back to comments. Okay.
Rip G2.
This is right. We'll talk about the arms now. Why not?
Arms discussion.
So,
Woody arms.
From Selim Far. He says, could the future Rahkshi use the Mask of Time to put their bodies in a state after Bakuda powered them up? No. That is way too much time travel nonsense. We are not doing that.
So
I'll already including the Mask of Time and introducing a form of time travel is already kind of pushing it.
Does that mean does the comment mean that the Rahkshi, as when they were Matoran, found the Mask of Time and used it to power themselves up?
What I read from it was that, we're in a future world, right, where the Rahkshi are defeated by the Toa, so they use the Mask of Time to travel or, communicate back in time to power their past selves up to where they are in the future, and there's, this big paradox where it's like a circle kind of thing, where, the Rahkshi become Rahkshi because of the future Rahkshi affecting the past Rahkshi. Yeah, no. Too much. Too much time.
Yeah, but we ain't going close to time travel.
The Mask of Time, I would say, can only affect states where they're at. So if hypothetical, right? Just say Tahu the Matoran, before he's Tahu, and he takes the Mask of Time and he decides to, just to have time pass quickly on himself. He ages, he decays really quickly. He becomes a really old Matoran. He does not become Tahu in the future, with the Nuva armor and being a Toa. He doesn't do any of that because the Mask of Time can't predict your future, what happens to you. It just speeds up the decay on your body.
It just speeds up the decay, yeah.
It just speeds forward what would happen to you. It doesn't do anything with your future. Whatever your future is doesn't matter because the mask can't tell.
Right. So it can only really affect the present state of things. It can't take you back in time. It can't take you into the future, and you can't communicate with things that have already happened, and you can't change.
You can witness things in the past because they already happened.
You can witness them, exactly.
You can
flashback.
You have the flashbacks, and you can revert objects to their state beforehand. Isn't that the what's it called?
Yeah, and you can get flashes of things that could potentially happen in the future, but. These are all essentially what you're getting is just things that affect you in the present state, not so much as you're traveling in time or you're traveling.
You do not travel anywhere. You're still at this point in time.
Yeah, there's never a point where you're leaving the present. And there's never a point where you're affecting the past or the future. It's always just... Well, I mean, you're obviously always affecting the future. Cause
never the past. The past is set in stone.
Never the past. Yeah. Let's see here. The next comment is from... Okay, I think this is another Mockingbird comment.
Oh yeah, Mockingbird.
It says... Okay, so this is one we're going to have to really address. Okay.
Mabby.
Mabby. Maybe why the island freezes is because things are in stasis, cannot be harmed or killed, so it freezes the island to keep the Matorans safe because it knows that an unworthy being is trying to tamper with time. It acts as a way to stop harm from happening while the Toa sort things out. About the cultist Matoran, how come they did not get frozen? Okay, so there's multiple things here that are something that we need to talk about. One, what happens to the beings while they're in stasis or frozen in time? Can they be affected? Can they not be affected? I think that's an easy no, but like we'll talk about that. And two, how are the cultists not frozen?
That's a good one.
Time?
That we overlooked that one. I haven't thought about that at all.
That one is a good one. Initially they're going to become the Rahkshi before they use the Mask of Time. Back when we had the
yes.
So like, I'm talking from like the original point.
They're still the Rahkshi before.
They're still the Rahkshi before. Okay, so the idea would be that like beings that are tampered, I guess, do not have that.
Perhaps when a being is influenced by a mask already, they cannot be influenced by another.
Well, okay, this is the issue,
and that could explain why the Toa can also move around.
Well,
it's like you can't be fast and invisible at the same time. It's like if you tried to use a Huna and a Kakama.
Because I said like perhaps like if you're already under the influence of one mask, you can't be under the influence of another. So say with the Rahkshi, they're already under the influence of the Mask of Control. They aren't affected by the Mask of Time. Same for the Toa. The Toa are influenced by their masks, and they can't be. Yeah, so on and so forth.
You just can't double up. You can't double up on masks.
Okay, so
because it's OP.
That's an interesting solution.
That is an interesting solution. And okay, here's the initial thing. Back when the Nuva symbols were around, the idea was that the Nuva symbols connected every Matoran to their power set. They all right?
Yeah.
And so they froze the Mask of Time and it went through the Nuva symbols and it froze every Matoran. The only Matoran that didn't freeze were the Toa because they were the Matoran that didn't have any powers. So
a connection to the
Nuvas would also answer the question. Well, like why can't the Rahkshi use any masks?
Well, the Rahkshi themselves lost their connection because they have the Rahkshi powers, the Rahkshi elements. They do not have the traditional elements anymore, or like their powers are drawing from a different, either they're corrupted or something. I don't know if you went to the light and shadow thing last week, but
yes, that was a thing.
So they're like, because of that, like the Rahkshi are untouched and the Toa are untouched until they unfreeze the island. Now without any symbols, I don't know. That's where
the chosen few.
So the chosen few, that makes sense from the elemental gods to have to choose them in that time of need. That makes that can be explained. But why would the other Rahkshi not be frozen? I don't know.
I think Ben, I think your suggestion's a really good one. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, dude.
Can't double up on elements.
Do it.
The same, it's true for wide-ranging mask powers like this, but the same is also true for minor powers. We should make that a rule. You can't be invisible and fast. You can't be shielded and go breathe underwater. We're like, I have a water breathing mask. That's stupid, but you get my point. Like all the G1 masks, you can't combo. Basically.
Yeah, you can't combo different mask powers. I think that's interesting. I think that's a really good solution to both the Toa and the Rahkshi. That makes a lot of sense to me. We just got to figure out what exactly the Toa's mask powers are. Because I think it makes sense that they would have, once the elemental gods choose them and they become the Toa, then they're using those mask powers.
Fire! Water! No, I'm kidding. We're not doing G2. I don't know. I know some people aren't a fan of giving the Toa the unrelated mask powers, like shielding and flight and X-ray vision.
I can get behind that too. I understand
fine
that
with
complaint.
not doing that, especially because some of their original mask powers weren't that great, like water breathing and X-ray are the two
And
particulars
levitation.
that come to mind. Because, like, for instance, yeah, exactly, levitation. Like, Kopaka has the scar in his eye, like his eyesight's impaired or he's straight up blind in, like, one eye. And I would say the telescope was just an addition that he put on.
Maybe it could be a
Himself.
mask of eagle vision. I don't know.
Maybe, something like that, but point being, I do want mask powers that are not the elements, because I felt like those awful with G2,
Yep.
but I'm not opposed to changing them from what they were in G1. If we have something more creative in mind.
Well, we definitely gotta change Gollies.
Yeah, Gollies has to go. I think Leela as well has to have some change or
Yep.
added thing to
We'll
it.
have to
Leo
think
should
about
have
that.
flight inherent.
So that is a very good comment there. Definitely making us think there. I'll have to come back to
See?
some of that.
There you go.
Hooray! Good
Props
comment.
to you, buddy!
Woo!
All right. Let's see. Okay, next question. I just want to address this one real quick.
Okay.
From Mark Miller. Here's an idea. The Toa have varying levels of connection with their respective precursor Toa. For example, Lewa has the strongest and is able to both speak and
Yes.
share memories with their
I
precursor.
wonder why.
Yes.
While Kopaka has the least and has as such has a sense of loneliness that the other Toa lack due to him rarely having visions or messages from his precursor.
Yes.
I
like
no,
this idea.
I really don't.
No, I don't like this
love
idea.
I wonder why this was proposed.
This is the best idea.
I don't know, like...
Mark Miller's
I've-
the man. He understands.
Personally speaking, I've thought the Avatar idea would be interesting to do in every now and then without being overdone. This idea is the antithesis to that. What I actually did like, where it basically happens regularly, except for a few who have isolation. I don't really want to go that route because
you do.
it takes away. It's kind of like my problem with G2, how like the Toa had no initiative to do anything. They were kind of worthless sacks of metal and gears, just being shepherded around by a Kimu, the knower of all. If you have like this omnipresent person who knows everything in your back pocket, then it
Right.
kind of takes away from your own initiative of the story. Every now and then, I'm personally cool with it because like in Avatar, it was used sparingly, and it worked out. This comment implies more frequent usage than I would ever be comfortable with under any circumstance.
Yeah,
So
I
sorry,
have a
Jay.
problem
No, you're
with
not.
No, I am sorry. I'm sorry.
being
for
able to talk with a being from the past who has since passed away. It's like I feel like it's, for one thing, it's hard to explain. It works. It's a bit too easy as a solution too. It's too simple
part of it-
that like Leo can just ask past Leo, hey, how do I do this? And like past Leo can just show her. He's like, oh, I just do this. You know, it's too simple of a
And
solution.
it's like, you know, with Avatar, you had Aang talking to the other avatars. Here we have essentially 6 avatars talking to their, like, all the incarnations.
Past
the
avatars, yeah.
And it's too much.
True.
It's too many people.
Yeah, it becomes
I'm
too
just
easy
picturing
from
the
there.
episode where like everybody goes to commune with their prior selves, and like it's just every 30 seconds we cut to another Toa who just spout mystic nonsense, and then we cut back to the other one, and it's like there's too many people to keep track with. Too many
It's
people.
just- yeah, I feel like it's not a bad idea by concept, but definitely not where I want that to go.
Mark
Yeah.
Miller, know
It's-
that
it's
I
also-
support you.
Also, I think it is. I guess this kind of depends on like how the Toa are really chosen, because I know there was a bit of discrepancy with that too. Outside of the podcast, we talked about it a little bit, but like, is it sort of a reincarnation kind of thing where like, because I had always believed, and I know we didn't really think about it so hard, so it's like I believe this, but it could change. But I had always assumed that the Toa, our current Liwa, is technically a reincarnated state of the past Liwa. The one that was there before is the Liwa that is here now. They're still they're, by technicality's sake, they're 2 different beings, but they are still the same person
I'm
who's
not
been
a
almost
fan
like
of this idea.
reborn.
So what you're implying is there will never be a situation where one generation of Toa and their new possible Toa candidates exist in the same time.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, because up
Essentially,
till
yeah.
now we have thrown around like every generation there would be hand-picked Matoran by the elemental gods just kind of waiting in case Toa are needed. And, like, if people decide to have kids in the lifespan of, like, another Toa, then we're going to run into a bit of a problem.
Right.
There was a solution we did come up with in this regard. I don't know if we want to discuss that now.
I don't remember what it was. So
I don't remember.
You might not have been there for that.
If it's relevant, share it.
Yeah, go ahead.
The solution that we came up with was that, cause, yes, Var, your concern was that there would be a time where there wouldn't be any Toa or a viable cannon for
wait.
Toa.
I do know where you're going at, and we did say maybe not talk about that.
What the?
Yeah, okay, I think I remember saying
fudge. Yeah, you're right.
We did say let's not talk about this one. So
there we go.
We don't want to repeat the card.
Yeah, well, we'll skip ahead of this for now.
You can wait until
Be there.
We'll come back to it. We need to plan it out a bit more before we can.
That needs a little bit more work.
No, there's a solution in the past. We're working on it.
Yeah, we sort of figured something out. I remember that now. All right.
Any more comments?
Next comment. There's 2 more comments here. So, the penultimate comment is from Will Marston. It says, "What I don't understand is, if the Mask of Time is so dangerous for Matoran and Rahkshi to use, to the point where it has to be hidden away so that normal Matoran and Rahkshi can't get to it, why was it made in the first place? If it's a risk to use, why make it?" This has got a simple answer, because it's not a risk to use for the people that made it. It wasn't meant to be used by Matoran.
Correct me if I'm wrong, who made the masks? Makuta and Akimu and Karzani?
Yeah, I'm assuming it was made for the usage by
Okay, good. The mask makers.
They were tools for their experiment.
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
They possessed the power and the mental fortitude to use it. They did not exactly bank on being overthrown and other people using their creations.
It's just like,
keep in mind, only one out of the 3 gods, or the 3 great beings, was even banking on the Matoran ever even being sentient to begin with.
That was never supposed to be a thing.
That was a decision from one of them, not from all 3.
And the other 2 hate him quite a bit for that, so they were not happy.
Exactly. So it's not like they ever really thought, oh, we might have a situation where our lowly beings are going to want to use our great masks.
This comment is essentially like, if it's so dangerous for kids to use bazookas, why do we make bazookas? Well,
kids aren't using the bazookas.
Because the kids should not have a bazooka.
Kids aren't supposed to have them, that's why.
They were created by the bazooka makers.
You're not wrong.
And when,
and they never banked on kids becoming
didn't
sentient.
anticipate kids to be sentient. So
no.
Yeah, kids aren't supposed to be
kids
sentient.
with bazookas.
There you go.
Kids with
BC, not heard. All right. Final comment is from It's from Sabretooth Studios. He says, "I've got a slight issue with Makuta being dead and getting revived. From what you said, Makuta manipulates Tahu from beyond the grave to revive him. But if the method of revival is time reversal, wouldn't Makuta wake up thinking that he was about to die? He would have no knowledge of the manipulations he had done leading to his revival or who the Toa and Rahkshi are, unless, of course, the Mask of Time simply restores his physical body, not his previous state of consciousness. Also, I thought the general consensus was that the Mask of Time could only perform one action and then shatter again. How would Tahu be able to both unfreeze the island and reverse time? Also, if the island freezing is a result of the mask being used by the unworthy, why wouldn't the Rahkshi and Matoran cultists not be frozen? We already just kind of figured that out.
2 out of 3 of those things have been discussed. Tahu can use it because he is worthy. The cultists aren't frozen because of the mask thing. The first one, though, is interesting.
And how would Tahu be able to both unfreeze the island and reverse time? Well, by reversing time, you're unfreezing the island.
You're
bringing it back to a state before it was frozen.
Well, I mean, I think it also, when it comes to Tahu and his ability to control the Mask of Time, once again, we've established that the Mask of Time and its ability and its usage depends on the strength of the person using it.
He's worthy, basically.
Yeah. So Tahu, he has the ability to use the Mask of Time more effectively than the Rahkshi were, but that doesn't mean he also has the power of one of the great beings either. So he can go a step further than the Rahkshi can, but that doesn't mean he has full control over the mask either. So he's able to revive the island. He's able to do that, and then he's able to push it just a little bit more to revive Makuta. But After that, it shatters again.
Quite.
The first thing.
And as
Okay,
far as
the first thing is that.
that's an
So that we talked about this beforehand. I think that the reversal power should not work on organic beings and only work on inorganic stuff. We talked about this beforehand, where Makuta's body essentially would have been depowered by the elemental gods. Essentially, they ripped the masks of power from all of the gods right before they killed them, in this, before they sealed them away. So I guess they're not really dead, but they've been sealed under the island, and Makuta's body has withered away to an extent. That's why he's this form of the Matoran later on. The idea is that the great beings initially were beings like the Matoran, and then they evolved and they grew in power and everything. And when Akumi created it, he created beings like his previous self. That's why the Matoran look like smaller versions of the macrofigs, right? Because you look at the macrofig, it's a giant minifigure. Well, why is that? It's because Akumi designed that in mind. Yada yada yada. So long story short, the reversal does not work on organic beings, and therefore Makuta is still able to communicate and do everything. He's just freed by Tahu reversing the island.
I'd be totally okay with Makuta being alive, withering away, but just locked in a prison that cannot be broken, and the Mask of Time just rolls back the clock on the prison and before it was built.
Yeah, and it's just kind of
I'd be totally fine with that. It doesn't exactly fit like the initial idea I was hoping for, where Makuta was this omnipresent spirit influencing people and forming a body like Voldemort, which was one of the things I actually really did like about G2. But if that has to be sacrificed for the greater good,
I feel like we saw that in G2, and it's been done. So.
It wasn't done well.
No, it wasn't done well. That's fair.
Because I remember everybody was speculating that Makuta is this morally great character, but he's also operating in the shadows. His machinations, however you pronounce it, behind the scenes have been something of great interest. I want to know what Makuta's actually going to be, and all we got in the end was blah.
Right.
So I wouldn't if we wanted to take another crack at that, is fine by me. But if it doesn't work logically, then the alternative is that.
Mm-hmm.
Just a dude who can't. Is Makuta immortal, or does he just have a long life?
The great beings have a very long life. I don't know if I'd say immortal.
Immortal
means that they.
I would say.
Wait, does immortal mean they can't be killed, or just they can't be killed?
No, I would say that they are immortal. I would say that they cannot die of natural causes.
Right, okay.
However, they can be killed.
They're like the Greek gods.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
Yeah. So they can be destroyed, but they can't just die. There is no natural causes.
So Makuta could be chilling down there for thousands of years, just withering away.
His body is just kind of withered away and gross, and he's like a skeletal, gross thing, just kind of sitting there, just clinging on to life.
Good.
It's almost like a curse because the elemental gods put him in there, and he's just kind of there to suffer for all eternity.
I was thinking that the part of Makuta's whole thing, while he also felt that sentience was a curse to give to people, he also was like, hey Kimu, you do know if you create any sentient beings at all, they rebel against us, right? That's a really bad idea. And Kimu's like, yeah, but life though. And he creates the life, and then everything happens, and he's like,
John, I love your idea, but we're getting dangerously close to Mass Effect ending territory.
What's the Mass Effect?
Created will always rebel against the creators. I created the solution so this doesn't happen.
That's true. Well, just because the Mass Effect 3 ending is bad does not mean it didn't have some good ideas. This is a good idea.
Yes.
True, very true.
The Mass Effect ending is actually just bad because they shoehorn you into one decision instead of a myriad of decisions that should have been your end.
A myriad.
And
You're
true.
right.
Very true.
But yeah, I feel like that could all tie in.
So yeah, that was our last comment. I'm sure there are other comments out there that we haven't addressed, but I feel like those were some of the more important ones, or some of the more clarifying ones.
Audience,
that we could have.
Continue to post your toast, and we will continue to address said toast in our podcast.
Toast.
I love toast. All right. So, did we want to continue discussing, or
I think we're basically done.
Well, I mean, we didn't come up with anything really new in this one. So
yeah, we haven't talked about new stuff, so that's what I was wondering.
I don't know if we really need to. We don't have any kind of a new quota.
Phweffie, Invi, X, you guys got any interesting insight?
On what?
G3, anything I know you've been absent from the discussion so far, which is why you haven't been contributing so much. You're kind of lost, but is there anything new you want to
so much
propose
and
to talk about, maybe?
What can I make up right now to throw in a wrench?
Yeah.
Any angle you're curious about? Because we're basically making a story. The sky
Can they
is the
have
limit.
another Paraka rap?
No.
We could have a Rahkshi
I'm
rap.
sure it would-
Oh, dude,
Yes.
Can me and Ben
we
just
gotta
make the
have
rap
a Rahkshi
and then make
rap
it canon?
rock.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what
Rahkshi
about
rock
Rahkshi
again.
Rock though?
Alright.
Rahkshi
Plot
rock
twist.
rap.
Kimu is actually
Well,
the bad
kind
guy.
of
He kind of is.
In a sense.
He's not a great guy.
I like that.
yeah.
Though. He's not like a holier art than thou character.
Kimu in Journey 1 might be my least favorite character in like all
I
of
love
media.
how he's just
I know what happens. He just script
Yeah,
No,
man.
listen. I mean, I don't
He's like
disagree that he's a bad
dude.
character, but all media.
And he
is
didn't
real
even do
hyperbole.
anything. He has the knowledge of the world at his fingertips, and he was still a complete incompetent when he transformed. He didn't do anything.
You know that is
He
true.
was
That
a
like
toe of light for nothing.
he had the ability to turn into a Toa apparently at any point in time, and just didn't.
He got hit, but like he hit like one thing, and then he turned short again.
Yeah, it was just kind of like, here's
Anyway,
some masks, now go do more work. I'm gonna like play Coley or something, or play golf.
He was like written
Play
like
the
a video
golf
game.
equivalent of like Bionicle.
It's alright, I already know the outcome anyways.
I know we.
Yeah, I know.
I know we've spoken about this a few times. I mean, yeah, basically he's got nothing to lose. I know we've spoken about this a few times. I just want like clarification. I know we've said Akimu won't be a part of our story. Is he gonna appear at all in the 3-year
He
plan?
might.
He might. I mean, the thing is, I don't want to rule out him not appearing, but I also don't want to say he will. It's sort of like if we naturally get to the point where it feels like that kind of escalation is
It's like
required for the
romance.
story, then
If
sure.
we get there, if we're writing a story, we're like, I feel like it needs to be there, then we'll write him in. If not, yeah.
No, essentially,
Yeah.
yes, exactly.
If not, we're
So
not
it's
gonna
like
do
if we get there, then yeah, he'll show up. But like, I'm not gonna say one way or the other.
Yeah.
Kill
Fair.
romance.
Yes.
Because at the moment, for the story's purpose, Akimu doesn't really serve any purpose.
He didn't really
So
serve a purpose
he's-
in his
Alright.
own
He
generation.
could serve some exposition later as to like they ask him why have you cursed this creator, and he's like, why?
Why?
He
Well,
had
well,
a
you see,
Zeppelin.
it sounded like a good idea
Krazix
at
in the
time.
live. This is actually an interesting idea. Krazix in the live studio audience says, "Will we see Akimu in flashbacks?" My immediate reaction was no. However, we potentially could. I mean, like if we're gonna be still sticking with the idea of the fragment of the Mask of Time and giving one of our Toa the ability to look back in their past Toa
Yeah.
selves, they could travel even further.
I think
So-
so.
True.
Yeah.
I think that's certainly possible.
All right then.
I feel like they could go back. Now, do they only go back to where the first Toa was, or can they go back even farther in time? It's just dependent on the Mask of Time.
I would
right?
imagine it's sort of like it's like a catalog almost. You can sort of pick and choose which book you want to pick up
like
and read.
like a
thinking
timeline. You know,
click.
you go to the Wayback Machine and you can click on any website. Go back.
Yeah, you can click on whichever date you want.
All right, I
The
see that.
Wayback Machine.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of how I imagine it. So
Interesting. Yeah, as far as like new stuff, we have a bunch of stuff we need to talk about. We need to do a whole episode devoted to Matoran characters. We need to talk about the Toa's backstory.
we need to talk about the Toa's backstories for sure.
We have a few concepts. I'm not sure if we ever like finished up discussing a lot of them.
I
but
have
know
concepts,
You
but
have a good idea
I
for
have
two
concepts
characters
as
in
well.
particular.
Yeah, I don't
talked
really know
about
too
it
much
once.
about others
Had
outside
a
of the
really
two.
big discussion. But
I remember we had one conversation about like all of their individual archetypes, and then Var like took that to the extreme and actually planned out like some lore.
Yeah, well,
which was cool,
me and
like,
Var and Eljay talked about it that one
backstory.
night where you ditched.
I was there when you talked about it.
No, you weren't.
No, you weren't.
I was there for a talk about the Toa's personality.
You were there for
I
a
remember
talk.
Yeah,
well
I
because
explained
was
it. I explained it to you after the
Right.
fact.
No,
At least
I was
I explained it. No,
I was there for a
you weren't.
conversation. I know because I could relay it word for word right now and spoil everything.
I understand that, Meso, but like you were there for the conversation where I was explaining what I had come up with based off of our argument the night before that you ditched for.
I won't continue to argue, but you are incorrect. I remember it fondly because I was playing Mass Effect. It's a very vivid memory because something specific was happening and I was contributing to the conversation. So I think we're blending.
I
conversations.
understand. Yes,
That's okay.
you contributed to the conversation. I'm just saying
fine.
that was the setup. You missed the conversation where we actually set that idea up.
Whatever. As far
Why
as
are
I'm
you so
concerned,
aggressive against this?
if I have the knowledge, then I was there for whether it's the conversation. I was there for the conversation.
I'm trying to tell you there are ideas
doesn't
that
matter.
Kahi had, for instance, that you don't know about yet.
Propose them.
I mean, do we want to talk about that right now? Or do we want to end the episode?
If it's just rough concepts and we don't have anything like 100% fleshed out, we might as well end on a note to where the fans can give feedback.
Okay, well, because the reason I'm bringing it up is because the one that you are aware of is the one that I developed, and the problem is that the one that I developed is not one that Kahi agrees with. He has his own pitch, so there is a different kind of backstory
we're both talking
that we
about,
haven't talked about yet.
The different conflicts.
Yeah, so the one that you're thinking of is mine, not Kahi's.
Shoot.
Bang.
Okay, so you want to get into this discussion. Okay.
I want to at least leave on a few things to where fans can be like, hey, that's cool, and contribute next week. We don't have to go full on and do another full hour, but we can talk about some of it.
All right. We can talk about that then for a little bit. I guess it'll probably be like a 30-minute conversation, but let's be honest here, it'll probably go longer.
Yeah.
If we're not careful.
Regretting.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at.
No, I agree. Let's just...
It's been a while since we've had an hour-long episode. They average it an hour and a half. That's just why.
Yeah.
And every minute we spend discussing
every minute, like,
whether or not we're going to talk about it.
an hour just
so
done.
either commit or not.
All right. I mean, we can go
Take a
for it.
vote.
I'm fine with talking about it. I feel like it's probably a time for Toa backstories to be mentioned.
Sure.
Go.
I got to bring it up, though. Got to find my pitch.
I can go with mine.
Yeah, you can go ahead and start talking
Okay,
about
so
yours.
the initial pitch that I had was that so Tahu is, of course, he goes through this thing where he has all the potential to be a great leader, and he doesn't measure up to that at the beginning. That's why he goes through the thing with the Toa, and he comes out of it. That's his character development.
Clarify that you're talking about Narmodo
Yes,
here.
I am.
Narmodo
talking
Tahu,
about
the one
right.
before he becomes the Toa.
Right.
So this is Tahu as a Matoran prior to the events of our story beginning.
Tahu is the title of the person. So Narmodo, before he becomes Tahu, has all the qualities to be a leader, but the potential isn't lived up to. He's hot-headed, he's brash, he has all the faults of Tahu. And he goes through that, and he learns that it's his character arc throughout the story. So initially, the pitch I had in mind was that Narmodo and Jala, we're remixing characters from old canon. They were both supposed to be inheritors to the line of succession, the king, essentially, of Ihu. The Ihuans.
So they're brothers, right?
Brothers.
Jala and
They're brothers,
Narmodo.
and they...
Okay.
Two brothers. It's in the it's located inside the military government that Ihu is. Jala is supposed to be the
Ihu?
Ihu. Is that... No, I'm
You mean
talking
one
about
guy?
Mangaya. Yeah, you're right. Ihu's yours. I'm sorry. When I wrote this down, I put down Ihu. Mangaya. So the Mangayans have a militaristic society. That's where the Tamatoran are all very militaristic. Jala is supposed to be after Tahu or Narmodo. Narmodo is supposed to succeed as the king. However, Jala is way more responsible and he's way more of a leader. And so when his father is about to die, he passes over Narmodo and goes to Jala. And so Narmodo is now like, after he thinks he's going to be the king. He's now been kind of passed over. He goes through this.
He's Loki.
Actually, he's more like Thor, because Thor's the one that gets passed over. Remember, Loki actually rules. So, Thor is the parallel between the two brothers is going to be echoed with Mikimu and Makuna and that kind of thing. But essentially, what would happen is that Jala would become the leader. But as Taku's going through his maturity, he realizes that he has to care for the entire island. Jala only cares for the Mangayans. So they go through a thing. He leaves immature. When he comes back, going through his entire adventure as Toa, he's more mature, but it's during the Civil War. And it's while Jala is looking out for the interests of the Mangayans. And here is Narmodo as Taku, who's now telling him, hey, we should try to work everything out. We should make compromises so that the other tribes can also live in peace, and we can work together and do these things, even if it means sacrificing some of the assets we have or sacrificing some of the stuff we have. And so the tension between the brothers becomes a hedge because Jala initially just knew Narmodo as this brash person that wasn't worthy enough to become king, and he has to step up, take our responsibility, and he's doing it. And then suddenly his brother comes back and he's kind of like, hey, I am the great leader of the supernatural beings that now rule everything of my insane elemental power. Also, now you have to listen to me. Also, we should give up some stuff from our city. I'm kind of a traitor to you right now because you are in the middle of a war and I'm telling you to make these compromises. So that character arc is going to be it's going to be established. It sets up a thing for Narmodo. It gets flipped whenever the Civil War arc happens, and so Jala and Namoto have this arc, and again it'll parallel things later on. The idea of two brothers.
So to clarify,
going forward
and reiterate, with your pitch, the Kingdom of Mungai, it's a militaristic kingdom where there's a king and his two sons, Jala and Narmoto, are sort of at odds with each other. Narmoto is assumed to be the next king once the king dies. However, Jala is chosen in his stead because Narmoto is too brash and immature to rule, according to the king, right? Okay. So, and then that relationship is put on head once Narmoto comes back as Tahu.
Right. And
once
like after the first year of the Tahu have other adventure, we get to know him in that first year, and Tahu will start to go through his character development. When he comes back that second year, he has the elements of a leader that he always had, but it's now been realized through his adventures as a Tahu.
Right. Okay. For my pitch, I mean it's sort of similar in a sense, but essentially the big difference between our pitches is that you are imagining Mungai as a kingdom, and I am not. Right. I think that's the big difference.
That is a big difference between it.
So for my pitch, Mungai is still a militaristic society, but it's a military government. It's not so much a kingdom where there's a king or the prince or anything. It's military government where the leaders are selected through their achievements in battle and combat.
I always imagined Ihu as the kingdom.
Well, I'll get into that because that's also
okay.
This is where the big discrepancy arises, because I imagine Ihu as the kingdom too, but we don't really want to have two locations where they're both kingdoms and there's both people in high command. So anyway, for mine, it was a militaristic society. It essentially, it's sort of like in this Mungai, it's sort of like the Krogans in Mass Effect, where they really enjoy being aggressive and fighting, and combat is really a big thing for Mungaian people. So fighting is sort of like a sport to Mungaians.
That'd be in my thing too.
And
I agree with that.
And with the militaristic society, there's different city-states almost that are split up in the Mungaian region. So there's I think I did 5 city-states within Mungai. And the city-states had names I attributed Takoro, Takoto, Tawahi, Tavoya, and Takarda. And each city-state elects their own champion or leader that leads that city-state based off their contributions in combat, their past experiences in war, and sort of they elect the people who have proven themselves to be the best of the best when it comes to fighting. So, for instance, in this pitch, Takoro, the leader of Takoro, is Jala. For Takoto, the leader is Narmoto. So you've got these two sort of general champions of these two city-states that are in high regard. Now the champions of each city-state sort of form a council together where they elect the had a name for it, but it wasn't a final name. I think I said it's essentially a core leader of Mungai, which is then called the Turaga. So the Turaga is the overseer of the entire region of Mungai, who is elected by the champions of each city-state. So let's see here. For my pitch, essentially what it was is that the past Turaga has passed away in a similar sense to your pitch, Kahi. However, the difference is now it's more of an electoral college formed by the leaders of the entire region, and they're meant to elect who is going to become the next Turaga. And everyone assumes it's going to be Narmoto because he's super popular with his people. He's a big champion in combat. Everybody loves him, but he's just a bit too brash, a bit too immature. And there's this thing that happens towards the end of his run here, before the island goes kaput, where the region of Mungai has an ongoing war or attack from Rahi. And I think I said Vako was the name of the Rahi. I kind of just pulled a random name from Biosector.
Vako works.
It could really be anything, but the Vako were these sort of lizard-like fire magma creatures that inhabit the volcano, and they come out and they're always constantly attacking the walls of Mungai, and Narmoto is sort of leading this sort of this fight against the Vako, and he's like, all right, the Vako are weak right now. We need to drive them back to the volcano and stop this fight once and for all to protect our people. Jala's like, let's not be brash. The Vako have backed off for now. We've held them off. We'll continue to hold them off. We need to make sure that we are building up our defenses, making sure that our island is safe for more Vako attacks. But Narmoto is like, no, we got to solve this right now. So he kind of goes behind the council and instead sort of enlists like his own little militia of followers because he's really, really popular among Gaians, so he can do that. And instead of, building up defenses and waiting for the Vako to go away, they instead go straight to their nest. They attack them, drive the Vako straight into the volcano, continue slaughtering Vako back and forth, and eventually drive them out of the volcano entirely. Cool. Narmoto saves the day. Everybody loves him. Except when they drove the Vako out of the volcano, the Vako had nowhere else to go but into the mountains of Ihu. And Ihu is a kingdom, unlike Mungai, where it's a military government. Ihu is a kingdom. It's got a pretty traditional setting. There's a king, there's a prince, walls, peasants, that kind of thing. The Vako invade the region of Ihu, and it starts attacking like the serfs and the people of Ihu. And there's this problem where now the kingdom is at odds with the Mungaians, and the Ihuans didn't really like the Mungaians to begin with. They kind of saw the Mungaians as these brutish, sort of like just lower tier kind of people. So there's already this sort of like racism amongst the Ihuans when it comes to the Mungaians, and now this has just set it off. So these are kind of the beginning steps of the Civil War almost, where like because of these issues, we're starting to set up these two regions who are at odds. Talking about the Ihuans, I think my main pitch with Ihu was that there's going to be a bit of a twist going forward into our story with G3. So we have a king of Ihu. His name is Matoro, and he is loved by his people. Everybody likes him. He's got a son. His son is Izator. Izator is the prince who's going to take over Ihu once Matoro goes away. What?
Oh, yeah, sorry. You said goes away, I said like dies essentially because
yeah, dies.
Goes when Matoro dies. When Matoro dies, then he's yeah.
He didn't die. He just went away.
Anyway, everybody loves Matoro. Matoro is great. However, things like the crap hits the fan when suddenly an army of Vako out of nowhere starts attacking the region, and Matoro is forced to lead his troops into battle to fight off the Vako, and it doesn't quite work, and they lose the outer region of their homeland.
Vakno!
It's sort of like an Attack on Titan when the outer wall is destroyed, and they just kind of have to back up into their kingdom.
Yeah.
So that sucks. Matoro ends up dying in that fight. The king is gone. Ihu just lost their king.
Matoro just always dies, huh?
He died for them.
That's what it is.
Yeah, Matoro dies. He died trying to save his people, as Matoro does.
That's good. That's great.
Krasix just posted, does Matoro get sunsetted? Yes, Matoro got very much sunsetted. So there's only one person left that has to step up. Kind of young, kind of a young guy who's not quite prepared to be the role of king, but it's time for him to take over, lead the charge, and that person is Izator. He is the next person. Prince Izator has to now become the king of Ihu. But then, right before he can fully take over the crown, the island is frozen.
No!
And Prince Izator is turned into Kopaka.
What? Are we still talking about G3?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Still talking about G3.
In case you might have forgotten, the Toa are titles, or they're kind of like this person is worthy, so they wield the power of Thor. In a sense, all these people, they're the original Toa.
I had no
like
idea that Thor was canon.
They were Matoran, and they got turned into Toa. He is. It's important.
So, going into our plot for BIONICLE G3, and the stakes that we're currently at, Tahu, who was Narmoto, was expecting to become the next Turaga of Mungai, but because of his brash decision, he was able to save his people from the Vako attacks. However, it put his people at odds with the Yahuans, which sort of incites a bit of a Civil War-esque conflict between them. And because of that, he essentially, in his efforts to save his people, put his people in even greater danger. Because now there's this big conflict between these two regions. So he's passed up for the opportunity of Turaga. Jaller is given the Turaga position, and Narmoto is he's not banished per se, but he's not necessarily popular at the moment either. So he has to really prove himself to his people going forward. But then the island is frozen, and he becomes Tahu. And it's through his brash decisions that happened. So we have Tahu, who's kind of at odds with his people, and has essentially just incited a war with Ihu. And we've got Kopaka, who is king of Ihu, who now has to deal with the ramifications of losing his father, as well as part of his region, because of the recklessness of the Mungaians. So when we talked about like how these two characters might have a bit of a history before they become Toa, that is that history.
Here's why, real quick, before you go, here's why I love this pitch. I look at BIONICLE G2, why did Tahu and Kopaka dislike each other? Right. Look at this pitch. There's a well thought out reason, fleshed out in lore and backstory and set up for why they don't like each other.
Okay, I think what you have in for the Takara actually works well. It keeps the elements of my pitch that I wanted to have, which is the relationship between Jala and Naruto, and the dual responsibilities they'll share, and how that will tie into Narmoto's progression as Tahu later on in the story, and also sets up the Civil War, which is great. The only thing that I have a problem with is nothing related to the Mangaya, but it's with the Ihu part. And the only reason that I am a little hesitant about Kopaka as his role as king is, one, it sets up Kopaka as the person who should be the natural leader of the Toa, and the fact that he like kind of puts that down and rejects that and has to submit to someone else, it feels like that's not the natural progression of his character. His progression as a character should be that he learns to become a leader and a king, and he leads the Toa, right? The flip side of that too is also with Kopaka. Kopaka has no reason. The Narmoto, with my pitch, the reason why I made him not become the king is though he doesn't have any responsibilities to return to. He can still be with the Toa and act as a Toa, because that is now his greater responsibilities he's adhering to. With Kopaka actually has the inherent responsibility to go back and become king. He should, because he's the only one in the line, and he should be there with his people in the Civil War and everything. And therefore, that means during the Civil War conflict, there is less reason for Kopaka to stick with the Toa and more for him to resume his role as the king in this trying time.
Yes, and that's very much intentional, because it's essentially trying to set up sort of this this conflict between his responsibilities with the Toa and with his people. And for the Toa, it sort of seems, because the Toa don't know he's king, they don't know about his status. So for them, he's just this distant guy who never communicates with them. There's never any unity. And this is part of that. It's because he has other responsibilities that he has higher on his list than working with the Toa.
So ultimately, would you say Kopaka's ultimate arc going to be that he is not fit to become leader, and he passes that on to someone else?
He is not going to remain the king. Yes.
Okay. In that case, actually, I think that could really work.
Can't wait.
I'm thinking about, like, if we introduce more characters. We haven't really gone into what goes on in Ihu. If we introduce more characters on Ihu that are trying to wrestle power from Kopaka as well, that can really tie it.
Power struggle.
Yeah, it can tie into the politics behind
that. And it'll tie into the political thing, because Kopaka is going to be seen as being almost a Mungaian sympathizer too, because he's friends with Tahu. Or, he works with Tahu in a sense. And he's got other obligations. His people are going to see him as distant from what they want.
The Mangaians will see Tahu as an Ihu sympathizer, since he's pushing for a unit.
Exactly. And the thing is, Makuta can use those relationships and sort of like twist that and build upon that to sort of incite the people turning on the Toa as they go into the Civil War.
Okay.
Spooky.
So... yeah. Also, as far as the natural leader sort of thing, I don't know. See, I see because Kopaka is becoming the king, but that doesn't mean he should be the king. And whereas Tahu, I feel like he should be the leader, but he's not becoming the leader. So it's a bit of a difference.
So, so I get that. So there's a dichotomy between them, and that plays into how their characters will clash in the meantime. Kopaka's critique of everything Tahu does will be in contrast to what Kopaka should be. Okay. I think that can work. We keep Kopaka. We will have that reveal be, I think it'd be later on in year 1, right? Like leading into year 2.
Yes, that Kopaka's king.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that he should be the rightful king as soon as his possibly actually we'll have the Ihu episode where we go to Ihu. That will be last or one of the later ones they do in that season. So when they are in Frozen, then we can have that episode where everyone's like, oh, the king's returned or something. And then we can tie that into that.
Yep. That is essentially the plot there for at least for my suggestion for Mangai and Ihu and the backstories for Tahu and Kopaka.
It's going to be a really interesting flashback episode or just lore in general. I don't know what way we'll deliver it in this hypothetical pitch.
I think
cool.
Well, what we should do if we were going to set it up, reveal that Narmoto or Tahu is no longer popular in he's rejected for making a bad decision. We don't know what that is. Then it's revealed that Kopaka's king. Then it's revealed that Tahu's decision.
Tahu may have screwed some things up.
Screwed that up. It would be a thing where possibly Narmoto is shunned for his thing in Mangaion because Mangaians are so victory based. They're based off fighting and everything. To be shunned is also to not talk about their accomplishments or to not so that's why when they go to as part of the culture when they go to Mangaion, no one straight up says what Tahu has done or what Narmoto has done.
Oh, I love that.
Right,
yeah,
because
the kind of disregard his
and
accomplishments.
that's part of the culture. You don't realize that by the time that Narmoto is the one that explains it to him, then he has to go through this thing that he's like, oh, by the way, I did this. And we could work it like he's ashamed of it at first that he lost or he did this thing, and then as it goes on he matures. He's like, no, I no longer have to be just ashamed of my mistakes. But when he reaches that point of maturity, he realizes that Kopaka is now king and he kind of killed his father, and then he's like, okay, maybe I don't want to say anything about this right now. So he matures, he gets character development, but things happen.
Maybe it's best to kind of keep that a little secret for now.
Nice. So this is really cool. I like this.
And there's going to be a lot of tension when we get to the Civil War between Kopaka, Kopaka, who is in charge of the Ihuans essentially, and Tahu, who's like, I need you to maybe not attack my people, please. And Kopaka's just like, dude, no. The Ihuans are out for blood.
If you guys haven't read comics, and comics are this thing where the Namor, the Submariner, destroyed Wakanda, right? And then Black Panther made something got Thanos to destroy Atlantis. And so
wait, what? Wait, hold it. Black Panther got Thanos to destroy Atlantis.
How do you do that?
I mean, comics are weird.
Yo, you owe me a favor.
Very carefully.
Ask nicely.
What happened first is that the Wakandas attacked Atlantis.
You offered him some vibranium.
And then Namor was talking. They wanted to find one of the Infinity Stones, and Namor told them that it was in Wakanda. So yeah, and then Black Panther then told that Namor had lied.
Deals with our devil.
Exactly. So that's what there's a point where they both their nations are fighting. They have to get together because of secret war is going on and everything. And so they have this thing where they're both like, I'm gonna kill you when this is over, but we're gonna have to work together for now. And also there's their tensions, and they both warn each other a bit of stuff that's going on, so they can get Black Panther comes this
is a really interesting dynamic as opposed to the other two generations where it's you're overconfident, you're too cold,
right? Exactly. It would be
I feel like it gives the reason for these characters to actually have these feelings.
The rivalry between Tahu and Kopaka is an iconic part of BIONICLE, but the reasons why
are not right. This will be good too because they're both at conflict, both with each other. And with the world, what the world expects of them, what they want to do.
The world expects them to be a conflict too. They can't even just put their differences aside.
No, you would hope in the Toa team, they want to put their differences aside, and they're like, no, everyone just work together and be friends. Why do we have to argue? Now it's like, no, you have to, because you're representing this. You represent this nation. You represent this.
Exactly. There's more to their unity than just saying, "Hey, we need to be united." There's actually more to it. There's far more depth to why they can't just easily put their differences
which
aside.
is often true in real life.
Exactly.
As well.
And so I actually really like that too. I think Kopaka would be, of course, more calculative and everything when he's planning his attacks on Tahu. But I do feel like we could have a moment where like Kopaka comes and warns Tahu or something that is to come, or he's like, here's what I can tell you: we are going to attack in the next 3 days. Be prepared. And then that'll be it. And then it's just to have him evacuate people or get civilians out.
Exactly. So that is that. I do feel like because a comment in the live studio audience made me realize I feel like you could break down a lot of ideas as being very fan fictiony. Essentially, if you were to just tell someone, hey, TTV is making their G3 and Tahu kills Kopaka's father. It sounds stupid that way, but I feel like when you actually like think about that plot itself and how things are being,
we could write it out.
How things are building into each other. I feel like it makes more sense.
The one thing we could possibly do is write parts of it out. Because we're thinking about like
we're going to have to.
I do think that
we'll have to.
We should have a story structure that takes place with like how many 12 episodes, I think. How many does a Ninjago season? Is it 12 or 13?
10.
No,
12.
It'd be
Nowadays,
13. It's 13.
Nowadays, it's down to 10. For the last 34 years, in the first 2 years of its run, it had 12 episode seasons. Then it was downscaled to 8 for rebooted, and then it's been 10 ever since.
So it'd be 10.
Somewhere in between.
Well, we can do 13 episode installments.
Look at Nexo Nights.
Possibly.
That's a more
what I'm thinking is that like we can have like 2 episodes per Toa.
See, Phweffie, this is like
this is exactly it.
I've missed you.
This is what we've been waiting for.
The influence in their regard.
Today's highlight.
They could, Tahu and Kopaka could arrange a peace summit. They get sabotaged by both people. Someone on the Ehuans who feels that Kopaka is too much of a sympathizer.
Jonald gets married to one of the Ehus.
Oh, they'd have weddings. The white wedding.
Ah, gosh, let's just outlaw romance again.
Romance in my Bionicle.
No man's.
No minutes.
Yes, I love it.
Wow, dude. When I said that this is going to be another 30 minutes, man, was that spot on.
It's pretty spot on, but I feel this was good.
Exactly
Out of this was the
because,
wrong episode.
Before
to
we
not
were just
eat
discussing,
before
like-
recording. That truly was.
Yeah.
Listen, man, our podcasts are essentially 2 hours long nowadays.
This needs to stop.
Nah,
I got
it's
lives to live, bro. You can't
I
keep
got
us here
sleep
forever.
to sleep.
Listen, I've lived my life since 7 a.m. this morning. I saw the president.
I've lived my life my entire life, I didn't start today.
Wow. Hang on. Let me go ahead and turn the TV on. Well, would you look at that? I see the president too. Huh.
Oh, here, let me just Google the president.
Let me just Google orangutan.
Are you seeing the president?
All right, thank you all very much for listening to our G3 discussion on TTV 247. Addressed a lot of feedback this episode. We ironed out some of the flaws in the plan from last week, and now we've got some new discussion topics. The government, the background, the lore, the characters, the personal struggles that Tahu and Kopaka, Naruto and Izator are going through in our story, and how that's going to have a ripple effect on the plot as a whole. What do you think of it? Are you a fan of it? Are there any changes that you would consider making? And more so, I know we already have some ideas, but I'm curious to hear you guys' ideas. Do you have anything else for the other characters, maybe? Some struggles they could be going through? How would the other villages have governments that would operate and stuff, and how they'd be different and whatnot? I'm curious to hear all that, because that's what we're going to be getting into very soon. But until then, keep the feedback coming on the TTV message boards at board.ttvchannel.com. And if you would like to become a part of our live discussions every week and contribute to the podcast in real time, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/the TTV channel. Pay $1 a month and join our sponsored chat every week, where you can contribute to the podcast, get your opinions heard, post funny pictures, and post questions that sometimes help us realize our mistakes, which has happened numerous times, which is always nice. And every week, we like to give a shout-out to one patron subscriber. And this week, I'd like to give a shout-out to another new person, ZC, I believe. Is that how you pronounce the name? I think that is correct.
I think that's
Is
correct.
Confirm.
Please be correct. Please.
C. Okay, he said C.
All right. C. So
Then why do you have
welcome
a
to the
Z in
party,
your
C.
name?
Z.
It's literally spelled
Z.
Z-E-E. Why do you
The
put
Z
a Z?
is silent.
That is stupid.
You're
The
incredible.
Z is silent.
All right.
Good grief.
C. That's awesome.
Oh, I
Silent
totally
C.
thought he meant C as in like yes. That is correct. I thought he was just making a joke by spelling it like C.
Welcome to the party, C. It's great to
I
have you
see
here.
you there.
I see.
Can we just
You're
make
gonna
butter
have a
silent now?
pretty
Can that
fun time.
I see what you did
I
there.
mean, I once knew a dude with a silent Q. So.
Oh,
My name is Ann.
Oh boy.
The V
He had
is
4
silent.
Q's in his name and 1 was silent.
Yep, it was Q Q Q Q, but his name was pronounced Q Q Q.
Oh, don't bring that.
Maybe all the Q's are silent. Just that's how we mention him.
Wait, what if? I'm sorry, every letter in my name is silent.
Exactly.
So how do you don't?
You know, I think.
Wow, that's crazy. That's so lifelike.
It's uncanny.
That's
almost.
right. That's pretty,
Look at
pretty
my,
good.
look at my head
How
and
did
my
you get that
white
photo?
arms. I've been canning that with just my head.
Really tan your arms as well.
John.
It's like someone from the Secret Service wanted to run up to you and like hit you with some pepper spray, but it was just like spray tan.
They just trip over
Yeah,
you.
on your face.
And then he was like, "Oh, okay. Well, I
good.
guess my bad. Take a picture of the president. Why don't you? You're dangerous enough to spray beforehand, but I think you're cool now. This is just embarrassing for me."
Well, that's going in the video. All right, thanks, Phweffie.
Jonald Drum.
Thank you all for watching. We'll see you all next week as we continue our journey into the unknown. And thank you all for following our journey with
Maybe
us.
we'll even talk about the other Toa.
Maybe
Wouldn't that be a
someday.
twist?
Maybe
All
someday.
right, thank you all. I'm Meso.
I'm Bar.
I'm LJ.
I'm Jonathan.
I'm Venathan.
I'm Phweffie.
I'm Mange. I mean, Tenebrae Invictus.
I'm dead, but I'm also XX Trooper. So.
And farewell, everybody!
Oh, I should have said I'm Jonald Drum.
Jonald
That's
Trump.
what it should have been. Exactly.
Jonald Jump!
Jump.
Stop.
TV episode 247, Jonald Jump. Got it in right under the
Yeah,
wire.
you got it in right at
Thank
the
you.
end,
Thank
man.
you.